If you felt stuck trying to lose weight, you're not alone. Enter Weight Loss by Hers. It's designed to support you in reaching your goals. And Hers now offers access to an affordable range of FDA-approved GLP-1 medications, including the Wegovy pill and the Wegovy pen. With Wegovy at Hers, lose up to 20% or more of your body weight when combined with diet and exercise. It helps you regulate your appetite, eat less, and keep weight off. Plus, Wegovy is the first GLP-1 available in a pill, so there are no needles needed. Everything is 100% online through Hers. You'll connect with a licensed provider who will determine if treatment is right for you. If prescribed, your medication is delivered right to your door. No insurance necessary. And it doesn't stop there. Weight Loss by Hers goes beyond medication by offering access to 24/7 messaging with your care team and tons of in-app lifestyle and nutrition tips like recipes, meal plans, fitness videos, sleep content, and more. Even better, with a range of affordable GLP-1 options, Hers makes it simple to find an approach that fits your needs and your budget if eligible. You'll get a treatment plan personalized to you and unlimited dosage changes as needed. It's weight loss designed to work with your life. Ready to reach your goals? Visit forhers.com/women to get personalized, affordable care that gets you. That's forhers.com/women. forhers.com/women. Weight Loss by Hers is not available in all 50 states. Wegovy is the registered trademark of Novo Nordisk A.S. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, Wegovy clinical study information, and restrictions, visit forhers.com.
You're on a GLP-1. Your appetite is changing, your cravings quiet down, and food noise is finally fading. But now you're wondering, how do I manage my side effects? What do I eat to stay strong? How do I break through a plateau? Because reaching your weight loss goals can take more than meds. That's where Weight Watchers Med Plus comes in. The support designed to help you navigate what comes next. With trusted experts who guide you, food plans that work with your body, support to help manage side effects, plus access to GLP-1 medication. Weight Watchers Med Plus is designed to help you lose more weight. Watch it work. Get started today at WeightWatchers.com. All medical services are provided through our affiliated medical group, Weight Watchers Clinic. Medications require eligibility and prescription. Individual results may vary. See site for more details.
Darkcast Network. Indie pods with a dark side.
On the night of March 7th, 2021, 41-year-old Sarm Heslop had dinner with her boyfriend on the island of St. John in the U.S. Virgin Islands. It was a relaxed evening at a local bar, and afterwards they took a short dinghy ride back to the 47-foot catamaran they lived on together and went to bed. But by sunrise, Sarm was gone. Her phone, wallet, and passport were still on the boat, but she wasn't. And the man who was the last person to see her refused to talk. To this day, Ryan Bane maintains that Sarm must have gone overboard accidentally, but Sarm's family believes there's much more to the story. And 5 years later, they're still trying to figure out what happened on that boat. When a person goes missing, there's a special kind of pain in the not knowing. I want to tell the stories of those who never came home. Today, I want to tell you the story of Sarm Heslop. I'm Kona Gallagher.
And I'm Ethan Flick.
And this is And Then They Were Gone. Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back.
Thank you for joining us once again. I'm Kona.
And I'm Ethan.
And we're the husband and wife team behind this podcast. Each week, I tell you the story of an unsolved missing persons case. Ethan doesn't know anything about the case going into the episode and is here to provide his reactions and questions in real time, hopefully asking some of the same ones you have at home. Now, this week, we're heading somewhere a little different. Technically, our case takes place on U.S. soil, but the U.S. Virgin Islands is a territory, and the police force that handles crime there operates very independently from what most of us think of as the American justice system.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. The whole police investigation was pretty bizarre in this. And obviously there were failings, not to say that we haven't covered 100 million cases on the mainland in which similar failings occurred, but it definitely is a factor. This case is also very similar to a case that is currently happening in the Bahamas. I don't know if you've heard about this.
Well, of course
not.
I don't. I purposely avoid that sort of news now because I know eventually it could be our case.
But don't you guys always have like news channels playing at work?
Yeah. I mean, I try to tune it out because I'm doing work.
Oh. Look at you, so diligent. But on April 4th, 2026, just about a month before we're recording this, Lynette Hooker, an American woman from Michigan, went missing in the Bahamas after allegedly falling overboard from a small dinghy. Her husband, Brian Hooker, reported that she fell in with the boat's keys, which stalled the engine.
Oh, yeah.
No,
I have heard this.
Yeah, this has been like really big news.
Yeah, mostly because of how stupid his story is.
Exactly. But yeah, that was his thing. She's like, well, the engine stalled because she fell in with the key, so that's why I couldn't go after her. And she was swept away by a strong current.
Yeah, wasn't his story like he like swam back to shore eventually?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't remember all the details. But the big difference between these two stories is that Brian Hooker was arrested within days of his wife's disappearance, though he has been subsequently released without charge, but remains a suspect.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very much, obviously, that just happened like a month ago, so it's still very much ongoing. But Sarm's case happened 5 years ago, and there's still been no arrests. But before we get into all of it, we've had a bunch of wonderful people join us over on Patreon, so we'd like to take a moment to give some of them some shout-outs. Thank you to Kaz B., Aaron D., Antonina P., Jeannie, and Miss Mary SLP. We really appreciate your support.
Thank you all so much.
As a reminder, if you'd like to get these episodes ad-free and generally early, you can join us over on Patreon at any level, starting at just $2 a month, and you'll also get a free copy of the ebook that I wrote. So now, let's get into the story of Sarm Heslop. Sarm Joan Lillian Heslop was born on December 19, 1979 in Southampton, England, a port city on the southern coast in Hampshire. She grew up in Hertfordshire with her parents, Brenda Street and Peter Heslop. Her close friend, Vicky Moggridge Percy, has described her as having a deep and beautiful heart. She's fiercely loyal and incredibly loving. Her mother, Brenda, has said in interviews that she and Sarm were close. They always laughed a lot and she misses everything about her. Kate Owen met Sarm in 2008 and told The Sun that the two became fast friends. They even introduced their families to each other and started spending some holidays together. According to Kate, she and Sarm were like sisters. No matter what they were doing, Sarm would make it fun. Quote, she was the best at making up silly games, and when we had time off, her drunken dancing was legendary. End quote. Sarm always had an adventurous spirit, so it makes sense that when it came time to find a job, she wanted to travel. Sarm spent more than 2 decades as a flight attendant for Flybe, a regional airline in England. That's actually where she met Kate. But by 2019, Sarm was itching for new adventures. That year, she left England and sailed across the Atlantic with Kate and her fiancé, Martin.
Whoa, that's crazy.
It was especially crazy because it doesn't seem like Kate and Martin really even knew how to sail.
Okay.
So it was really interesting. They talk about this. There's a documentary that I'll be mentioning a lot in this, a BBC documentary, and Kate was interviewed and she showed like videos from this time and they're like, oh yeah, here's a tour of the boat. Don't really know what that does. Like, guess we'll figure it out.
And they went across the entire Atlantic.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah, that's very dangerous.
Yeah, but they made it, and Sarm fell in love with the easygoing lifestyle of the open seas. Sarm was a strong swimmer and quickly became a competent, level-headed sailor who could handle herself on open water. After that trip, Sarm wasn't ready to go back to England. She settled in the Caribbean and began building a new life as a yacht chef, cooking for guests on private charters. The pandemic had upended the aviation industry, and Sarm wasn't someone who sat still. In July 2020, Sarm met Ryan Bane on Tinder when they were both in Grenada. Ryan was 44 years old, originally from Orion Township, Michigan, and he owned and operated a 47-foot catamaran called the Siren Song out of the U.S. Virgin Islands.
It's not a bad job.
No, yeah. That was kind of his midlife crisis situation. I think he worked in finance for years.
Of course, everybody who is nuts works in finance. I feel like half the murderers or serial killers all work in finance.
I don't think there's any basis for that whatsoever.
Wasn't Christian Bale's character in finance in American
a
Psycho?
Character in American Psycho? Sure. Yeah. So Ryan ran Siren Song as a luxury charter vessel and would take guests out on day trips and overnight sails. He and Sarm hit it off quickly, and she moved aboard the boat and became his chef, cooking for charter guests while he captained. Everything really seemed to be going Sarm's way. She was living in paradise with a new boyfriend and was testing out a new career. According to her friend Kate Owen, Sarm was a little apprehensive about her boyfriend also being her boss, but she was excited to give the whole thing a go. In February 2021, the pair decided to dock in St. John in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Kate said that Sarm and Ryan seemed like a great couple. Quote, Ryan seemed sweet, quietly spoken, and a bit reserved, but lots of fun. He often mimicked Sarm's English accent, and they were always laughing and looked happy. I had absolutely no concerns. End quote. So things seemed to be going well for the couple. Up until Sunday, March 7th, 2021. Sarm and Ryan had only been in St. John for about a month or so, and that night, they went ashore from the Siren Song for dinner. The boat was moored in Frank Bay off the western coast of St. John, about 200 feet from shore. The island was under a COVID curfew at the time, which meant that they had to be off the streets by 10 p.m. That night, the couple had dinner at a bar called 420 to Center in Cruz Bay, which was a regular hangout. The bar's owner later told reporters that the two were there for about an hour and a half and had been seated at the edge of the bar. It appeared to be just a normal evening out. No one reported witnessing any arguments or visible tension between the couple. Ryan apparently had around 3 beers and Sarm had 2 cocktails. There were other boats that were anchored around the Siren Song, and a couple on one of those boats said that they had seen Ryan and Sarm earlier in the day, and everything seemed calm on board. CCTV footage captured Sarm and Ryan leaving the bar, walking side by side down a small wooden dock and boarding their dinghy to head back to the Siren Song. That footage was recorded at approximately 8:45 p.m. that evening, about 6 hours before Ryan reported Sarm missing. The CCTV footage shows them walking together, and they look casual. There are also a few people around them, like sitting on the dock and things like that, and they don't really seem to pay any attention to Sarm and Ryan.
So there's no visible signs of an argument.
That's what I'm saying, because obviously it's CCTV, so there's no audio, right?
Yeah.
So we have no idea what they're saying, if anything. But yeah, like nobody's like looking at them. Nobody seems like freaked out by whatever's happening between them. Like they literally seem just like a couple who got finished with dinner and are going back to their boat. Like there's literally nothing weird about this video at all. I mean, the only possible thing is that when they get onto the dinghy, it seems like Sarm kind of like flops into it a little bit from the dock. But I don't know if that's because she had been drinking or because it's hard to get into a dinghy gracefully, you know?
What was she wearing? Was she wearing like a skirt or do you remember?
So she was wearing a dress and sandals when she disappeared. They could have been flip-flops. I can't really tell. But they didn't look like they had a heel.
Yeah, that's more of what I was thinking. So yeah, maybe it was just that he got in the dinghy first and it was rocking.
Yeah.
She just kind of...
Because I just showed you the CCTV clip. So like, what did you get from that?
I mean, she wasn't staggering walking down the dock. So, I mean, it doesn't... And, I mean, yeah, you said only 2 drinks, of course.
Who knows?
Who knows how strong the drinks were or whatever. But
or if they had been drinking before that or whatever. Yeah.
But it doesn't, I mean, she's not staggering. Like I said, she's not staggering. She doesn't appear to be drunk. It could have just been that she like he got in first and it was rocking back and forth and she just took a wrong step or something.
Yeah, and just kind of flopped into the dinghy. But yeah, like I agree because they're close to the camera on the walk and they both seem to be walking completely normally.
Yeah.
According to Ryan, the two returned to the siren song, watched a movie together, and went to bed. Then, around 2 a.m., the boat's anchor alarm went off. That's a sensor that triggers when the boat detects unexpected movement. He says that the alarm is what woke him up, and when it did, he saw that Sarm was gone.
Now, had they had any more drinks while they were watching the movie?
I don't know. Like, that's actually never been publicly stated. I don't know if he...
Kind of an important detail.
I would agree. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And I would imagine that they did, but I mean, that's obviously purely speculation.
Yeah. Because if we're going with the thought that she only had those 2 drinks
right,
that we know of during dinner.
Yeah.
Like that's... And now this is 6 hours later.
Mm-hmm.
Like that doesn't seem like enough for her to fall overboard drunkenly.
Exactly, yeah.
But if, like you said, if they had a couple of drinks beforehand, went out to dinner, had a couple of drinks, and then came back and then had some more drinks while they were watching the movie, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's just so hard to say, and it's just so speculative.
Right.
So at approximately 2:30 in the morning, Bane called the Virgin Islands Police Department to report Sarm missing.
So a half hour after he...
I mean, ish.
Yeah.
You know, I think that timeline isn't really exact, not in a suspicious way, right? Like, I think that
Sure.
2 to 2:30 period is like waking up, figuring out what the alarm is, seeing that Sarm's gone, looking around, you know, and then calling.
Yeah.
VIPD officers came to the dock, conducted a brief land search, and told him to contact the U.S. Coast Guard since a potential overboard situation would fall under their jurisdiction.
They said, you call the Coast Guard? Like they couldn't call the Coast Guard?
So that's really interesting that you said that, because that point actually does come up in this.
Okay.
So yeah, put a pin in that.
All right.
So that is what happens kind of according to Ryan, according to the police, right? But here's what didn't happen. It's springtime. I got some new pieces from Quince, and I'm so excited to tell you about them. I love all of their cashmere pieces for the winter, but it's springtime and I wanted something light and breathable, so I went straight to their linen collection. I got these beautiful green linen pants that I absolutely adore. You can wear them dressed up or dressed down however you want. I also got this amazing top that looks like it should wrinkle immediately, but somehow doesn't, and it's so soft and beautiful. And that's because Quince uses premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and ultra soft denim. And it all starts at just $30 because everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. So go ahead and refresh your everyday with luxury you'll actually use. Head to quince.com/ATTWG for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/ATTWG for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/ATTWG.
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. November is Men's Health Awareness Month, so Talkspace wants guys to know that being prepared for life's biggest challenges and opportunities means prioritizing mental health, too. Talkspace can help you go beyond fine-tuned workouts, supplements, and productivity hacks. Talkspace can help you fine-tune your inner life so you can succeed in being the best version of yourself in any situation. And with Talkspace, you can get therapy from anywhere and on your time. You can even text your therapist between sessions. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace takes most insurance, and most insured members have a $0 copay. Men's Health Awareness Month is the perfect time to reach out to Talkspace. Now, get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com and save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com. That's Talkspace.com, promo code SPACE80.
Ryan did call the Coast Guard,
Okay.
as the USVI police instructed, but not until 11:45 that morning, over 9 hours after he discovered that his girlfriend was missing from their boat.
Why?
Well, that was what a lot of people were wondering. And they're like, yeah, that's a very weird thing to do. Sarm's father, Peter, has spoken publicly about that gap, saying, quote, "It just drives me nuts. What happened between 2 a.m. and 11:45 in the morning? He didn't shout and holler. He didn't ask for nobody. He just made a phone call to the police. There's just no answers," end quote.
Yeah, and what was he doing?
Well, so Ryan's attorney sat down for an interview for BBC's Missing in Paradise Searching for Sarm documentary. And now this was a documentary that aired on BBC in 2025. Very good, very thorough. I highly recommend it. According to Ryan's lawyer, Ryan had been under the impression that the police were the ones who were alerting the Coast Guard. So basically, the U.S. Virgin Islands police said that they told Ryan to call the Coast Guard. Ryan said, no, that didn't happen. I thought they were calling the Coast Guard. So then...
And then 9 hours later, he calls the Coast Guard?
Right. He had been waiting for them to arrive, and when they didn't, that's when he called.
For 9 hours?
Well, yes. Tier Dondi, who was the presenter for this BBC documentary, asked that very question. It's like, okay, sure, but why wait 9 hours? Like, that seems like an absurd amount of time when somebody potentially went overboard in the ocean.
Right.
Now, Ryan's attorneys said that the Coast Guard had to come from Puerto Rico, so Ryan hadn't been expecting them to be there immediately. He had been expecting it to take several hours. So I did look, and by boat, Puerto Rico to St. John does take like 6 to 7 hours. So that makes sense to a degree.
Sure.
But it's not true that they had to come from Puerto Rico. While the Coast Guard for the Caribbean is headquartered in Puerto Rico, they absolutely have a presence in the U.S. Virgin Islands and could have been there in minutes. So this fact that the U.S. Coast Guard is on the U.S. Virgin Islands and not only in Puerto Rico is apparently well known by sailors in that area. But even if you wanted to be charitable and say that Ryan, didn't know that, he was under the impression that they were coming from Puerto Rico, 9 hours is still a really long time to not just Google and double check.
Yeah.
Like, because I did Google that. I Googled something like, how far away is the Coast Guard from St. John? And they're like, it's basically here. I think it's on St. Thomas.
Yeah.
So, it was a 2-second Google search that would have told them that they weren't coming from Puerto Rico. And, this is 2021. We're not talking 1996.
Right.
So that was something to do. And again, I can't imagine if you're terrified, if your girlfriend is missing from a boat, what are you doing for those 9 hours other than panicking, thinking of every possible thing that could have happened? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, so many things going through my head. Like, so it's absurd to me that the Virgin Island police were just like, it's out in the water. We don't have boats.
Right.
Call somebody else who's a couple hours away or, maybe even an hour away. Hopefully she's just out there swimming. No, they were like, well, maybe she just swam back to shore and is out partying. That's okay. But all of it's crazy. Like they wouldn't have boats to go out looking for somebody that might have gone overboard.
Right.
I get the territorial issue, but I don't think the Coast Guard's going to be like, you shouldn't have gone out looking for that person. How dare you? That's our territory. I don't think that's a thing. But then on top of that, why he has a dinghy.
He has a dinghy.
Why didn't he go out on the boat looking for her?
Right. And that was Sarm's father's question. Like, dude, what were you doing? Not to mention that, as I mentioned, in the beginning, there were a ton of other boats anchored near them.
Right.
Like, there were people around. They weren't alone out there.
Right.
And they were close to the bay. They were close to the shore. They were not in the middle of the ocean. This is not a situation in which two people are on a sailing trip in the middle of the ocean and somebody falls overboard or goes missing in the middle of the night or whatever. And you're like, oh shit, by the time you realize
they're gone.
They're gone.
Right.
You're far away from wherever they were. Help is God knows how far away. This is not that.
Yeah. Get in your boat. go over to your neighbor's boat.
Yeah, they were practically in a friggin' marina.
My girlfriend disappeared. I think she fell off. Can you help me come look for her? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Something's not right there. 9 hours is a long time to clean up a murder scene.
So when the Coast Guard did finally arrive, Ryan's attorneys said that they boarded the siren song and conducted an on-site inspection.
Oh, wait. Go back. Sorry.
Yeah.
Did the Virgin Island police go onto the boat? Or did they only go to the dock to meet him?
They went to the dock, and I think they boarded the boat and kind of did like a general, like, look around.
Okay.
But that was it. Ryan's lawyer said that the Coast Guard came on and did an inspection, but the Coast Guard has stated publicly that they were denied full access.
Okay.
So they issued Ryan citations. He received additional citations from the VIPD, one for not allowing a search of the boat, one for lacking registration documentation, and others for safety equipment violations. Now, all of these were just civil matters, and none contributed to a criminal charge or apparently gave them probable cause for a thorough search of the vessel.
Interesting. I don't know enough about maritime law.
Exactly, right?
To say anything about this.
Yeah.
Plus, you're talking about, well, I guess it was U.S. Coast Guard, so it's U.S. waters.
It is.
International waters, but they're also not U.S. citizens. I don't know if that comes into play.
It's
maritime law.
So Ryan,
so
Ryan's a U.S. citizen. Sarm is not.
Sarm is not, right.
So I think that does contribute to a lot of this, though. Like the jurisdictional issues, I think, are part of the reason why a lot of things fell through the cracks in this case.
Right. Because even though the Virgin Islands are U.S. territory, they may have different laws than most mainland cities.
Right. And that's what I was saying. Like in the intro, it's U.S. territory, but it's not the same as just being in.
It's not like being in Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why I chose Chicago.
So I've mentioned Ryan's lawyer a few times, and it sounds like he called this lawyer in between the time that he called the police and when the Coast Guard arrived.
In the 9-hour gap.
That's what it sounds like.
He calls a lawyer.
That's what it sounds like, yeah. Because his lawyer said in that documentary that the reason why he didn't allow the Coast Guard to do a thorough search or whatever is because he was
advised by his attorney?
Yeah.
So your girlfriend goes missing, potentially overboard. You call the local police. You mistakenly, allegedly, think that they are calling the Coast Guard.
Which I will say does seem to make sense because that was your first question. Like, wait, he's supposed to, why wouldn't they call it?
Sure.
So, okay.
That's fine. So in the 9 hours that you're waiting for them to come from Puerto Rico, even though there's closer Coast Guard stations, you think, I better lawyer up.
Yeah. Now, this lawyer too, this wasn't mentioned in the documentary. I saw like a different interview that some of the people connected to this case did. The lawyer is this guy named David Caddy, who also at one time represented Ghislaine Maxwell.
Okay.
So he's American. He's based in the Caribbean, though, and
with an interesting client list.
So anyway, Caddy advised Ryan to exercise his constitutional right to remain silent and decline all further requests to search the vessel.
Why?
Because that's his constitutional right.
Yeah, but why? I mean, like, why deny access to parts of the boat?
Again, I get it from the lawyer's perspective. Like, don't give them anything.
Sure, from his perspective, his girlfriend just went overboard. Like,
well, he's listening to his lawyer. He's protecting his rights.
Why do you lawyer up in the first place instead of going out searching for his girlfriend?
I don't know. But okay, so even though he was following his lawyer's advice on this, it doesn't mean he was being completely uncooperative. Through his attorney, he eventually handed over Sarm's phone, wallet, and her passport over to the USVI police because all of that was still on the boat after she disappeared. No, and as you know, I'm a big fan of not talking to cops ever, so I personally don't blame Ryan for exercising his constitutional rights in this situation. To me, I place the blame more on the police. Because the one place that Sarm was confirmed to have been before she disappeared was the boat.
Right.
And it was never forensically examined. Not by VIPD, not by the Coast Guard, and not by the FBI.
Well, to be fair, I'm not entirely sure that the Coast Guard has any forensic examination capabilities. They have a law enforcement capacity to board boats and make arrests and things, but I don't think that they have an investigative unit. Maybe they do. I don't know about, but I would think that would fall under NCIS.
Either way, nobody, not a single agency in the U.S. Virgin Islands, in America, in England, anywhere, forensically examined this boat.
I wonder if this is the Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing at each other like, oh, this is your jurisdiction. No, it's your jurisdiction. No, it's yours. You know what I mean?
I think to an extent, but the police said that they applied for a search warrant and were denied by the courts. However, former FBI agents have publicly called that explanation inadequate. Jerry Forrester, a former FBI agent who has worked extensively in the Caribbean, told Fox News, quote, "She went missing probably from the boat. There's enough probable cause there to get a search warrant." End quote.
So at what point did the FBI get involved with this?
I think pretty early on, but I think that there really wasn't much that they could do because the USVI police didn't really want them to be a part of it. I don't think they were ever formally invited into this.
Interesting.
According to Ryan, though, the police told him that Sarm had probably just chosen to take off. So that's kind of what I said before.
Swam back to shore to party.
Yeah, to party. And, left her wallet, passport, phone behind.
How is she going to party if she has no wallet or money or anything?
And it's a COVID curfew.
Right.
They had to be off the streets at 10.
Yeah, which means the bars were closed.
Exactly.
Bars and restaurants were closed. It wasn't a curfew for people to go into restaurants or stay out of a certain area.
Yeah.
Shit was locked down.
Yeah.
So that is not a valid explanation.
No, and it just seems as though USVI police weren't treating this as an emergency, which, again, maybe it's just because I'm paranoid about water, but to me, anything involving water is a fucking emergency.
Well, yeah. I mean, at this point, it's 9+ hours later, so sorry.
Yeah, but at 2:30 a.m.
Well, yeah, exactly.
That's an emergency. Even if they thought she was swimming to shore, they didn't see her. Everything was closed.
Well,
that's still an emergency.
She's violating the curfew at that point.
Right?
So,
something.
Yeah.
Dear Lord, I just don't understand. Beyond anything, I just cannot understand police getting called at 2:30 a.m. for somebody possibly going overboard into the ocean and then just taking off.
They're like, well, not my problem.
I just don't understand the thought process. I don't understand the policy. I don't understand anything about that initial response.
Yeah, and I don't either. I don't understand it. I don't know if it's.
And to me, that's completely independent of whether or not Ryan Bane had anything to do with anything.
Sure.
He could be 100% guilty or 100% innocent, and that still doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So, that's why this whole case is infuriating. The VIPD and FBI did, however, search the surrounding coastline with drones, divers, and dogs. So this is in the days immediately after, right? Mm-hmm. Then, 9 days after Sarm vanished, a local dog walker came forward to say that they had heard a scream coming from out at sea, roughly in the direction of where Siren Song was moored, around the time that Sarm was reported missing. But that tip appears to have gone nowhere.
How can you verify that?
Yeah. And after that, the case was pretty much at a standstill. Ryan wasn't talking to police, nor was he talking to Sarm's family. According to Sarm's mother, he blocked her shortly after Sarm's disappearance. Then, in November 2021, 8 months after Sarm vanished, the Siren Song was listed for sale. The asking price was around $229,000, and its name had been removed from the hull. A boat captain named Akeem Phillip was interviewed for the BBC documentary, and he said that Ryan paid him to sand the name off the boat about 2 weeks after Sarm's disappearance.
Is that normal when you sell a boat? I don't know.
Not really.
To change the name or remove the name? I don't know.
No, I think most boats are sold kind of as is.
Okay.
And I think then the new owners will often change the name.
So he was doing it because of the stigma surrounding the name of the boat.
That's what it sounds like. And I find it interesting that he did it 2 weeks after Sarm's disappearance, and it wasn't listed for sale until 8 months after her disappearance.
Interesting.
He really did not want to be drawing attention to that boat.
Yeah.
Sarm's family was understandably alarmed by the siren song's potential sale. By this time, they had been working with a liaison, a man named David Johnston, who was a former commander of homicide and serious crime at Scotland Yard. He dug into the boat and reported that while the siren song was moored in Grenada following the disappearance, renovation work had been carried out on the boat, including work described as involving parts of the forecabin and the reported replacement of a freezer. Now, Ryan has disputed some specifics of those claims, saying that he never had the freezer replaced. But either way, a vessel that was never forensically examined was renovated in another country before anyone had looked at it properly. Johnston told reporters, quote, Bane was allowed to sail off quite literally into the sunset without ever being challenged to tell the full story of what happened that night, end quote. And that is a very true statement. He left St. John. He has never been formally interviewed about Sarm's disappearance by anyone. Not by USVI police, not by the Coast Guard, not by the FBI. No one.
Oh.
Now, the boat is obviously the biggest piece of potential evidence in this case, and it was gone pretty quickly. But that was far from the last investigative failure. In the early days of the investigation, the VIPD told reporters and the family that there was no CCTV footage of Sarm and Ryan from the night she disappeared. According to them, a power outage had taken out the cameras in the area that night.
So how did we get the CCTV footage that we just saw?
Well, at the 1-year mark in March 2022, Sarm's parents traveled to St. John with the British Consul General from Miami. They met with police, and during that meeting, they magically came up with this CCTV footage.
Mm-hmm.
So either there was footage all along and somebody lied about it, or the power outage only affected some cameras and not others, and they were just mistaken.
Or they just never looked into it.
Yeah, the family has never received a clear explanation for the contradiction or why they had to wait a year to see the footage.
And only after pressure came from
England.
Right.
Yeah. Then, to add insult to injury, when the family asked for a copy of the footage, police refused to give it to them, saying that releasing it could prejudice a future court case.
In what way?
No idea. And this was especially frustrating to everybody in England because England loves CCTV.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Especially in the cities.
Oh,
my Lord, they love CCTV. And they have said, they're like, if we have a situation like this, somebody goes missing, and we have CCTV of their last known whereabouts, we put it out immediately because that is how you help people get found.
Right.
And, yes, that's not true across the board. Sometimes things get held back, whatever. The point is it is incredibly helpful for footage like that to be released. I also don't see how it could possibly harm any future court case.
It doesn't show anything.
Yeah.
It just shows them walking down the dock and getting into their boat.
Yeah. And it shows what she was wearing.
Right.
It's in color.
Yeah.
It has a lot of value, but it was not released. So not only would they not give them a copy, they didn't even show the family the full video. They only showed them that first section when they were walking on the dock. They didn't even show them the part where they were getting on the dinghy. It wasn't until 3 years later that the full tape was finally released publicly as part of that BBC documentary. And they show that in the documentary. The presenter, was obviously like, okay, she's gearing herself up, like, we're going to try to see this CCTV, like, it's going to be a big deal. She goes to the police station. They're like, oh, yeah, here. Like, here it is. Just showed it to her. And they're like, you want a copy? Take it. Whatever. Like, it was insane. And so it was in that documentary. And now you can find it online. It's on YouTube. It's everywhere.
The VIPD just seems very disjointed.
Yeah, the whole thing is insane.
Yeah.
Then came the 911 call. On the 2-year anniversary of Sarm's disappearance, the family revealed that the 911 call Ryan made to the Coast Guard at 11:45 that morning was never recorded. Brenda and the rest of Sarm's family was wondering what was going on in St. John, telling reporters, quote, "We have been told that the CCTV wasn't working in the local area due to a power outage on the island. And now we discover that the 911 call Ryan made to the Coast Guard was never recorded. Something doesn't add up," end quote. The USVI Emergency Communication Centers told reporters that all 911 calls on that day were recorded and the system was fully functional, but that a court order would be needed to release the specific call. But the Coast Guard said that the call was never recorded due to a system fault. So which is it? Nobody knows.
Are they two different 911 systems?
I don't know.
That seems very
But to this
bizarre.
day, nobody's found a recording of the call. So this whole thing is suspicious, and a lot of that suspicion falls squarely on the shoulders of Ryan Bane. However, you may have noticed one thing that's been missing from this story, and that's any indication that Ryan Bane is the type of person who would even lay a hand on his girlfriend, much less murder her and dump her body overboard. And to be clear, we don't have any evidence that he was ever abusive towards Sarm at all. Remember, even one of her best friends said that she had no concerns about Ryan or the relationship. But that wasn't the case with his ex-wife, Corey Stevenson. In 2011, about a decade before Sarm's disappearance, Ryan was married to a woman named Corey Stevenson. They had been married for about 4 years by that point. That year, Bane was arrested for domestic violence at their home in Orion Township, Michigan. According to court documents and Corey's own account, the two had been driving home from a wedding when Bane became angry because she was asking for directions. When they arrived home, he dragged her from the car, threw her to the ground, smashed her head into the floor, chipped her tooth, and then choked her before going upstairs to bed. Police found Corey with a chipped tooth that appeared fresh, a bloody earlobe, and scratches on her shoulder and neck. Bane eventually pleaded guilty to domestic violence and served 21 days in jail. 2 years later, he served an additional 31 days for a probation violation. After Sarm's disappearance, Corey gave multiple interviews. She told Fox News Digital that Ryan was a Jekyll and Hyde character with a short temper. In fact, he was so volatile that she feared leaving him home alone with her daughter. Now, this daughter was from a previous relationship, and I think she was around 10 or 11 when the two got married. Corey said that when she heard Sarm was missing, her first thought was, quote, "That poor girl had no idea who he really is," end quote. Corey wasn't the only person who came forward after Sarm's disappearance to talk about her time with Ryan. In 2025, a woman who only wishes to be identified by her first name, Allison, told the Daily Mail that Ryan Bane was a nasty, controlling drunk, and she was lucky to have made it off of his boat alive. According to her, she met Ryan just a few years before Sarm in 2017. They had a short romance in Grenada before he had to return home to Michigan. But in early 2018, he reached back out to her, this time with a job opportunity. In return for cooking and cleaning his boat, the Siren Song, Allison could live aboard rent-free, and the two of them could explore the Caribbean. After offering to fly her out to St. John, Allison, who was 31 years old and working as a bartender at the time, agreed. But she immediately knew she had made a big mistake. According to Allison, Ryan was volatile, verbally abusive, and forced her to have sex with him. She told the Daily Mail, quote, He forced himself on me the whole time I was in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I had no control. On this boat, I wasn't safe. I never had a way off the boat. He would make me feel like I had to have sex with him. He would say, I got you here. This is my boat. I paid for that food. End quote.
Jesus.
Allison said that the abuse got so bad that she considered ending her life. After weeks of this, she says she begged him to leave, saying, quote, he finally helped me book my flight back and took me to the shore and angrily dumped my bag. End quote. Now, to my knowledge, Ryan has never publicly responded to Allison's allegations, and for years, he didn't even respond to the allegations around Sarm. But once the documentary was released in 2025, he finally broke his silence. In the film Missing in Paradise Searching for Sarm, the new USVI police commissioner, Mario Brooks, said that the timeline in Ryan's account contained inconsistencies, saying, quote, the timeline is suspicious, and that's one of the reasons why we need to talk to Ryan, end quote. But Bane's attorney called that characterization irresponsible and said that Ryan believed that Sarm had hit her head and fallen overboard or had become disoriented while swimming, lost her way, and drowned.
But she was considered a strong swimmer.
Yeah.
And they were in a bay.
They were in a bay with very calm water.
Yeah.
But 2 days after the documentary aired, Bane posted an open letter on Facebook. It was his first public statement in 4.5 years. It's no longer available, but you can find a Dropbox folder with this statement, along with his divorce decree from Corey and other legal documents from that time. In the statement, which is about 1,500 words long, he disputes specific claims from the documentary and alleges that there were, quote, serious gaps in the official handling of the case that should not be ignored, end quote. He mentioned the missing 911 calls and said that no VIPD report was issued on the morning he reported Sarm missing. So he's saying that, it wasn't his fault Sarm hasn't been found. It was the fault of VIPD and the Coast Guard, which, to an extent, I absolutely agree with.
Yeah.
He also does circle back to your statement of but Sarm was a strong swimmer, which she was. But he also alleges that she had a scar on her forehead from one time when she was drunk and fell overboard or something and hit her head. So he's saying, well, yeah, she's a strong swimmer, but, accidents happen and something like that had happened to her before.
I mean, has anybody in her family confirmed that about that scar?
Not to my knowledge.
Or her friends or anything?
No, I don't know.
That just seems like he just made that up.
That statement's the only time I've ever seen anything about that. But the gaps in the investigation and the way this was handled are valid, and Sarm's family have pointed out those same issues.
Yeah, pointing out the gaps in the investigation doesn't clear your name, though.
Exactly. And the two sides draw different conclusions. The family points to these inconsistencies as evidence that the investigation failed Sarm, which is true. But Ryan appears to be pointing to them as evidence that he can't be held accountable for Sarm's disappearance.
But, again, them having gaps in the investigation didn't start until she was already gone. So them not doing their job does not clear your name from any wrongdoing. It doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, if there was wrongdoing, it just made it easier for him.
Exactly.
After his statement was released, Sarm's parents said publicly that they hoped Ryan would share any information he had with police, not just with journalists, because this statement is really obnoxious and it's just here's how I've been treated unfairly for 1,500 words. And then at the end, he's like, if any real journalists want to talk to me who have a good resume or CV and want to get in touch with me to tell the truth, then I'd be interested in talking to you. And so Sarm's family was like, how about you talk to the fucking police? How about that?
Yeah. There's a start.
Yeah. But of course, he has not. So what happened to Sarm Heslop? Officially, in 2026, this is still a missing persons case. Despite calls from Sarm's family and friends to classify it as a murder investigation, as of this recording, 5 years after she was last seen, that has not been done. No one has been charged, and Ryan Bane has not been named as an official suspect, nor, as I mentioned earlier, has he ever been formally interviewed. According to Ryan, this is just a tragic accident. Sarm accidentally went overboard. He said that she must have gotten out of bed and decided to go for a swim.
Okay.
2 in the morning.
At 2 in the morning.
1 in the morning, whatever it was. And yeah, like I said before, he thinks that she either hit her head or became disoriented and drowned in this very calm bay with very clear water. But of course, there are more than a few problems with that theory. Again, Sarm's friends have consistently described her as a strong swimmer and level-headed. Like, not somebody who just decide to go for a swim at 2 in the morning.
Right.
Like, get out of bed and go for a swim at 2 in the morning. It's not like they've been partying till 2 in the morning and they're like, woo, let's go swimming.
Right. And like, that would even be a little bit more believable because her friend had mentioned like the drunken dancing. Right. Like, it would be more believable if they had stayed up, continued drinking, started playing music, was having a good time, and then she fell over.
Yeah. But then, but the issue is Ryan couldn't have witnessed it, right?
Yeah.
Because if he witnessed it, the water was calm, they were anchored.
Right.
He would have had to have been able to easily get to her.
Right.
So that doesn't work, right? So the story has to be he was asleep. It doesn't make sense to say he was asleep and she's like partying and playing music. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it had to have been, I don't know. I was asleep. We were both asleep. I guess she got up and decided to take a nighttime swim. And as we know, according to Ryan, the police said that maybe she just swam back to shore for whatever reason. But let's not even talk about that because that's obviously very stupid. So it leads us to foul play. Many people believe that Sarm and Ryan could have gotten into a fight that night, and Ryan either pushed her into the water where she subsequently drowned, or he killed her on the boat and dumped her body. However, there are problems with this as well. There were boats anchored near the siren song, which I've mentioned multiple times, and no one reported hearing a fight or any sort of commotion. There are also no reports of the boat leaving at any point, though if he did dump her body, he could have used their dinghy to do it and left the siren song anchored.
Could have, yeah.
Whether it was an accident or it was intentional, Sarm's mother, Brenda, has now accepted that her daughter is dead. She told BBC, quote, "I feel I should grieve. I don't know how to. My heart's broken," end quote. In the meantime, findsarm.com is still up, and there is still a reward being offered for information that leads to a significant breakthrough in the case. And Sarm's family and friends are still asking anyone who saw or knows anything to come forward. Ryan Bane is reportedly back in Michigan and working as a pilot. He's kept a low profile over the past 5 years, with that Facebook statement really being the only time he's spoken publicly about his missing girlfriend. Though he described the CCTV footage of them as showing a, quote, loving and caring couple on the night she disappeared, end quote, he has little else to say about her in that 1,500-word statement. It's just about how the media has painted an unfair portrait of him. He's defensive for sure, but the question still remains. Is that because this was a tragic accident for which he is being unfairly blamed? Or because he knows exactly what happened to Sarm on the night of March 7th, 2021? It's the answer that Sarm's loved ones refuse to stop fighting for. Sarm Heslop has been missing from St. John, U.S. Virgin Islands since Monday, March 8th, 2021. She is a white British woman with long, dark brown hair and brown eyes. She's approximately 5 feet 8 inches tall. Sarm has a large, colorful tattoo on her left shoulder depicting a seahorse, a butterfly, a bird, and a pink flower. She was 41 years old when she went missing. She would be 46 today. If you have any information about Sarm's disappearance, please contact the Virgin Islands Police Department Criminal Investigation Bureau at 340-774-2211. You can also leave an anonymous tip with Crime Stoppers USVI at 1-800-222 8477. The family's official website is findsarm.com. You can see all the sources for this episode along with photos and videos at our website, andthentheyweregone.com.
And be sure to follow us on social, And Then They Were Gone Pod on Facebook and at ATTWG Pod on Instagram and TikTok. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe and consider leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It will help new listeners find us. And the more people that listen, the more chances we have of bringing someone home.
And we'll see you here next week for a brand new episode.
See you next week.
And Then They Were Gone is hosted by Kona Gallagher and Ethan Flick. All research, writing, and editing is done by me, Kona Gallagher. Theme music is The Stork by Ketsa. Additional music is provided by Kai Engel. And Then They Were Gone is a Little Monster production.
Hey, you can do it!